we're going after 9-figure business. We are going to be there hopefully in about 60 days. Redneck nobodies to millionaires. Let's talk about it. A lot of people ask about what our story is, and we're going to get into the nitty gritty.
Every time I handed another partner a turnkey business, it failed. Erik, if you can't call somebody's bullshit, how many dollars is 9 figures?
Shit, it took me a second. I had to use my fingers, right? I'm like, yeah, 9. So
that's over 100 million for you watching.
So we're going to do this in 2 segments, first and foremost, right? The first segment we're going to talk about is when you and I got together to start our first conglomerate, which is On Call Services, which is now On Call Holdings. And then on the second episode, we are going to talk about Josh and I individually and where we started and how we got to the point to we are to the first of this episode. Does that make sense? So, to kind of shorten things up a little bit to make everybody understand is Josh and I went into business, and I'm not trying to give away too many hints from the next episode, but Josh and I went into business together. It was in 2018 officially.
Well, no, we were actually in business together in 2016.
No.
We started pool cleaning of Tulsa.
Was it that
I still
far
got
back?
shirts in
Was
my
it that
closet.
far back?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that one didn't work out. We made shirts. We won't talk about that one, okay? We had a grand idea, like probably most of you guys that are watching had a grand idea, even made shirts to do it, and then nothing happened, right? But don't let that distract you like we did not, because 2 years later, we formulated a different plan that fast forward, and then we'll come back, but fast forward to today where we're on track. If everything lines up by the end of the year, is that we are on the track to do a 9-figure business. So backing on up, right? Backing on up to 2018.
That's backing on up.
That's backing on up, right? And you guys that are watching, you know me, you know Josh, and you know a lot of the different podcasts. We put out a ton, not that many shorts, but we put out a ton of real podcasts with real people, and we're about helping entrepreneurs. So a lot of people ask about what our story is, and we decided to answer. So we're going to get into the nitty gritty, and like I said, we're going to start with Josh and I coming together and kind of what that looked like and where we are now and that whole transition. And then the next episode, we'll get into our individuals. So 2018, I get a phone call from Josh. I'm a safety guy at that time. And Josh said, hey, man, been following you. You're my friend. I got a good plan for you. I got a good idea. Come over to my house. I'm like, shit. Here we go. Right? Kind of like pool cleaning at Tulsa.
I mean, showed up.
And here I come. Woo, bells and whistles. Here I come. And he's like, this is going to sound crazy. Josh is a good salesman. I don't know if anybody could tell yet, but he could sell a fucking a snow cone to an Eskimo, right?
It's ice to Eskimo.
Whatever.
Idiot.
Snow cone, ice. I mean, whatever, right? Same thing. So I show up with bells and whistles, as I always do. And he's like, listen, I know you got a good job, making $100,000 a year. And he said it a lot more sexy than I'm telling you right now, because I don't have that same charisma that he does. But he was like, hey, this is a long shot, kind of, but here's what I got, right? You got to go sell yourself. You got to go make this meeting happen. And if you can make it happen, I think we have a really good thing going. And so I prepped the best I could. Did everything I could with your help and me doing my own help and my own research and a couple other people that were helping too. And long short of it is I went into a meeting claiming to be somebody that I wasn't and sold them on it. Long story short, I prepped myself. I said I was one thing that I wasn't. And they believed me.
Well,
and I was, to be honest with you, like, it was a test for myself. It was like I think naturally I'm a decent salesman, but at the end of the day, this was a pivotal moment, right?
Hey, this might be my best sales pitch ever.
Let me hear what you're talking about.
I mean, selling you.
I mean, it was a pretty good one, bro.
Think about it. You just became almost bankrupt.
I was almost bankrupt.
Shitty partner.
I was almost bankrupt from a shitty partner. I was in the. We were about. How many months did it take to have a baby?
You're
10 months?
9 months.
9 months.
They say you're 9 months
Right?
pregnant.
9 months, right? So
I guess
we were 6 months in, my wife and I having a baby. So, I mean, I was in a weirdly odd, pivotal moment in my life. And I had the spirit in me personally, and I'm sure you knew I did. And I didn't want to work for anybody. And I know I've been very vocal about that on this podcast, but it was a kind of a pivotal moment for me where I was like, I have to sell this. He sold me. I have to sell this to these guys. Tell them that I am the best effing portable toilet operator in the state, right? And make up a bunch of stuff that likely wasn't true. But it's what I had to get the job done.
I think they knew that I think you told them up front, though, that you weren't currently in the business.
No.
You didn't?
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
I did not.
I mean, here's the deal. There was a lot of prep. We already knew the situation, and it was kind of a different
But
story
the
for
funny
me.
thing is that fast forward, listen, I hear you, right? The funny thing is that not all the things I was saying was true. And that's just the reality of it. And I know it.
Well,
And
sometimes
I can
you
live with
gotta
it.
fucking
And I
fake
can
it
live
till
with
you
it.
make it.
Right? And I know that's what it is, right? And I can live with that. But the reality is that when it came to crunch time and they did agree with me and they did think that I was going to be the right guy, it was in the hardest time of this particular relationship that we could have. Meaning we were right in the middle of we were getting ready to start a turnaround. And the turnaround piece was the epitome of what they do every other year. It was the time where they shut down the plants, they fix everything. It's mass chaos. There's more restrooms to service, more hand washes to service, more holding tank, more wastewater, more everything. It is a 24-hour operation. I went in from 0 to 100, not necessarily knowing exactly what I was doing, but I was smart enough and I had enough intuition and enough personal thought about myself that I could do it, right? A personal drive within myself that I can get in there. It's not that complicated, and I can figure it out, and I can make it happen. And I can make myself proud and make my partners proud and make sure that I can accomplish that goal. And it was one step at a time for me. I did the first piece, I sold it. The first piece was I had a relationship with somebody who was in business, right? This is my part of the story, right? And
I'm listening.
This will grow, right?
I might learn something here.
My part of the story was I was in a relationship with somebody that had a good deal. We'll call it potentially a good deal. I had already done my deals that I'd had going on. Not saying that more wouldn't come, but I'd already done my deals, and my deals did not work out the right way. As of many people that have done business before, it didn't work out the right way. This one got brought to me by an individual that I was friends with, that was kind of in business already and done some things for himself. And he trusted me and said, hey, I'm going to make a call to you. And my name came up and I came calling. So I sold it. I did it. I did the hardest part, which was probably about 90 days. I had a baby in the middle of the 90 days and was still able to do and fulfill the needs of the client. And the hardest point was not really knowing what I was doing in 90 days. And I knew if I could get past that 90 days, it was going to be easy sailing, right, for me. That was how I was looking at it. And I did that. I accomplished that. And then from there, it was what's next, right? And then it was what's our next step, right? And then we started to go, okay, well, we got to get outside of this one client. We were heavily leveraged on one client, right? But we made a ton of money in like 90 days. So we were like, hey, we got all this money now. We set up our terms correctly. Everything we set up the right way. That this is some industry knowledge that we had. So I will say that I had a partner like Josh that had some industry knowledge, and we were able to set up some of our payment terms on 60, 90, 120, on assets, trucks. I don't think it was quite like that, but some of our assets we had to buy were 60, 90, 120, which is, again, we just leveraged some of the experience and some of the knowledge that we had. Yeah, we had no actual business experience, but did that. We knew I set our net terms from our customer, not from our vendors, like I talked about, 60, 90, 20, 120, but from our customer, we set them when we took an early pay of net 10, right, right out the gate. And we did that for a little while, and I'll get to that. But so we were getting paid every 10 days from every day we invoiced. So if you can think about it, if our assets weren't due till 60 days and we had 10 days to get paid, if we invoiced right, every day, which a lot of times we did, especially in a turnaround situation, that we were getting paid on the 10th, and then the 11th, and then the 12th, and then by the time we get to the 60 days, we've been paid so many times, we have plenty of money to pay our payments, right? And that was a finagling deal that a lot of people don't think about. And I'm not saying everybody can do that either. Our situation was probably, very niche, I would say, due to your experience and the situation in general. But it very heavily weighed in our favor, I would say, in this situation, because we were able to make a pot full of money, put our payments in a long term, right, to start I would say the majority, the bulk of the payment was on long term. We bought a pretty shitty truck to start, right? I remember that old Dodge truck. Remember that one? SL1, right? And that was a piecer. I'll just tell you that much. And I was just servicing toilets, man. Just doing my thing and learning and figuring out how to manage people and route. And I'd had experience in managing people, but it's different whenever it's yours and you're the only one there and you're the end all be all. It was different. And at the end of the day, we did that. We conquered it. We moved on to the next piece. We started making money, and then we were like, "Hey, what's next?" And then we started kind of. I believe it was kind of at that time where we got together and we were like, what's the vision? You know what I mean? Like, we got the groundwork laid, right? And what's the vision of what the heck we are going to do, right? And we had a lot going on, and I don't know if it's the exact time frame, right? I don't remember exactly, but in somewhere.
Let me catch you up on something. Let me interrupt.
All right, go ahead.
If you're watching this, let me tell you my side.
All right, go for it.
Because Eric's about to learn a few things here.
Uh-oh, here we go.
There's only one person that knows what I'm about to say.
Here we go.
Okay? Only one. And it's
you?
It's my wife.
Oh, okay, good.
So before I even contacted Erik, Erik needs to fast forward a little bit. We met each other through a mutual friend. And Erik was kind of wild like I was. We've been on some spring break trips together. Kind of getting the same degree, Don't
share too much from the next episode.
Okay. But long story short, we have it longer than a 6 month or a 10-day past.
I agree. Yeah.
Right. He's been through a few things. Kind of fast forward real quick. I was moving back. My wife was finishing school in Florida. I was moving back full time from Florida. I didn't know when I moved to Florida, I was starting this company. I sold it when I got moved back, sold it, transacted. I had a pot full of money. I was just going to chill out, but if anybody knows me, that's not my personality.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
So I had this opportunity presented to me. I wasn't even seeking it. They came to me and said, hey, look, we're having these major issues, blah, blah, blah. And I told my wife, I said, man, it was a big decision for me for a lot of reasons. So I said, I got to find somebody crazy enough that when I tell them this opportunity, that they have to bite. Because I knew I could back it up, once we got it. Because I knew the business. I've already been in this business. I knew the business. I knew it was going to work. But I had to find somebody crazy enough. I went through all the people in my head. But I was like, and this person's going to need to know from ground up how to do this because we can't just go put a lot of debt on the company at the very beginning. Right? So, yours and 3 other names came into my hat. Some of them I was going to have to pay a lot more than I had to pay you at the very beginning. Some of them, they were probably a little bit more, had business acclimate of success, but they didn't have the grindiness to them. Right? So I was like, hey, let's bring Erik over. What do you think about Erik? She goes, I always liked Erik. I don't really know him as good as I probably should, but I liked him, and he seems like a good, even kill guy that'll listen to you. I said, okay. There's another guy mentioned, and it probably wasn't.
I gotta know.
Huh?
Who's a couple of the other guys? I gotta know.
One of them was actually one of my bankers. So I never even discussed the whole. You were my first one when we got done with
here we go.
No, you were my first meeting.
Here we go.
You were my first meeting.
Okay.
I told multiple people about it.
Yeah.
You're in my first meeting. So, long story short, fast forward, sat down on the couch, told you this opportunity, you took it. When we first started that business, I had enough business money in my account to go write a check for all brand new equipment, everything. And we got brand new restrooms when we did it, right?
160, 90, 20, 120.
Yeah, but we did it. I wanted to see if he could manage cash flow. I wanted to see if he was willing to fucking stress himself out and push it. Because the last thing I wanted to do, because he did those things, and he had a baby, and he quit a job, and he had a bad it was like combination of like, hey, this guy really wants it. Erik really wants to be an entrepreneur. He's going into a large turnaround. He just now had a kid. He might have to file bankruptcy from his last business.
Never did.
Never did. He really wants it. And he's humble enough and willing, and I didn't sugarcoat it when I presented this thing. I said, you will fucking clean toilets. You're going to clean toilets. It's not going to be easy. I said, you're going to be working 12, 14 hours a day. You're going to be nasty. You're going to poop on you. It's going to be the opposite of the job you're doing now. And he accepted it, and he came on. And we structured some things creatively for a lot of different reasons. I had money going everywhere, but it wasn't because I was short on cash. Made it through that. Fast forward, he learned a lot in that shorter period of time. One, he learned that he could do it. That was the most important thing in what I saw out of you. You're like, hey, I can do this.
Yeah.
You were making money. You learned how to manage cash flow. You're taking the biggest thing that I respected on this thing is you were listening. You're following the lead. You didn't really. Sometimes you question, but most time you didn't have time to at that point in time.
Yeah, I agree.
It was chaotic.
Yeah.
Right. I pushed you, listened. Fast forward to where we are today. A lot of the same relationship dynamics that you and I have are still intact to this day.
Yeah.
But Erik has a lot more season in this business, and now it's nice because I'm not the only one with ideas and vision. He can put his own vision and his own ideas backed by experience, proven experience, not just experience in finance, accounting, marketing, but experience in the industry and experience that he's willing to put forth the effort and do it, which is the most important deal is the effort.
Yeah.
I knew that I could teach you finance and some of these other things that you learned over a period of time and how to structure things. But what I could never teach and still cannot teach to this day, hence why we have less partners today than we've ever had on this business,
hustle
is the willingness to show up early and stay late.
Yeah.
And be consistent over a long period of time of focus. Visions change, business models change, people, employees within those business models and those visions change.
Yeah.
But you as a leader cannot change the effort part of it. And that's, in my opinion, how I looked at it. We started it. I ran it low. I didn't want to go out and get a lot of debt because I've had bad partnerships in the past. Right? Still have had bad I'm sitting here texting one of my ex-partners because it's not going that great. Right?
What did we say? What did we say?
Kyler, shout out. You know who I'm talking about. So, my point is I didn't want to go because I made a pact with kind of Ashley. I was like, I'm never going to get myself in a financial situation that I will have to go back to work if I had to. So I was like, we're going to drag these people out. I knew that if we go get the turnaround, they had to finish the turnaround with us. You know that now.
There's no mid-change.
There's no mid-change. So I knew we were going to get the cash to pay all that stuff off.
Yeah.
And if you didn't work out, I knew I could. If it didn't work out, I could fill in the gaps and I could start the check and then we could move on. Yeah. But you figured it out. You built toilets in the field. You serviced toilets. You learned the business from the ground up. And that's probably that is why I was successful. Because that's how I had to do it. Mm-hmm. And I knew every time I handed another partner a turnkey business, it failed. Look at our past few that we've had, right? Yeah. We hand them all the resources. We give them all the capital. We give them the best equipment. We hand them the best accounting systems. We help set up their software, and then they fail, right? And if you look back on your experience, you had direction. I kind of said, hey, Erik, don't go here, stay here, but you got to do it.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, and I've been a big proponent for what he's talking about, and you can probably watch multiple different podcasts where I talk about it, and there's a lot to be said about starting from the ground and I'm not saying you need to be the subject matter expert. I probably was, right? Because I lived it for long enough to be that. But you don't have to necessarily be the subject matter expert on everything that you are over. But you got to know enough to be deadly and to call people's bullshit. And that's really what it amounts to. So, and to get a little bit more granular.
Which helps you with your efficiencies.
Everything. That's what I was going to say.
And I've always preached that to you. I was like, Erik, if you can't call somebody's bullshit.
I agree. Like I say, and that's just stuck with me, right? And it makes a lot of sense, especially now where I'm like, my COO says, I've got 60 toilets on a route, right? And it's taking him X amount of hours. I'm like, hey, something doesn't sound right.
Yeah, because you've served
I've done
60
that,
toilets
right?
on a route.
That doesn't make any sense. Then something's happening. Are you in rush hour traffic half the day? Or whatever, right? Whatever the situation. But if you've somewhat semi-lived it and you can kind of get a gist of what it should be, then you can at least be smart enough to ask questions and be like, hey, what's going on with that one, right? And that saved me a lot of money.
And there was a couple of things that I
heartbreak.
knew I considered them insurance policies that you don't know about. I calculated little check boxes. You quit a job.
Sure,
you needed money. Hence why you negotiated the salary the way you did.
Yeah.
You were having a kid. I was like, I got a few insurance policies here.
He ain't leaving.
He ain't leaving.
If he quits, he's not leaving.
I can push him pretty hard. Probably harder than I would anybody else. And he ain't leaving. And I knew I had this turnaround coming up. It was going to pay my pretty much the entire company off after the turnaround.
Yeah.
So I had this thing not figured out, but I was like, the biggest key factor was seeing if you were going to make it or not. Yeah. The backup was me jumping in there and finishing the product, right? Which I could.
I'm sure you could.
But the neat thing with Erik's, being a little bit humble about, he did take direction, which is tough for a lot of people to do. A lot of people want to do it their own way. He took direction, and now he's on a fast track to not potentially. We are going to build a 9-figure business, which is even crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Because when you start talking about 9 figures, you're not too far from 10 figures. And a 10-figure number to me, valuation or revenue, it's probably not going to be revenue, it's probably going to be valuation, is even crazier. I don't think we'll ever get there, but maybe. But the 9-figure business we're talking about is very realistic. It's the game plan is there.
It's tangible in 4 months.
We won't hit 9 figures.
It'd be close.
It'd be close. Yeah.
It'd be close.
It might not be multiple 9 figures, but it's very tangible by the end of the year. Yeah. And we're sitting here in August.
Yeah.